Hello! Hi everybody. I'm in the little corner because today I'm going to be streaming VR stuff. I'll just wait for people to kind of arrive and come in, chat and stuff. Say hello if you come in. I have no idea if there's anybody in there. There's very many people there, so I'll just wait a bit. Don't know what I'm doing. But I am Nick, a 3D artist on Titan. This is my first one. I was doing VR and brush stuff. Now I'm going back into VR. I'm Targo. Hello. Hello Marlon. But yes, so I'm going to be doing some VR stuff in Oculus Medium. So for those of you who haven't heard of Oculus Medium, it's kind of like a sculpting, 3D sculpting. A little bit unusual because you actually sculpt 3D with voxels. So they're tiny, tiny voxels, tiny little cubes, and it means that the 3D meshes depending on the resolution. The more voxels you have, it doesn't actually get export, optimize and export it. So a lot of people are using it for like concepting. Very accessible software, very like easy. A bit loud. No, if it's loud. Yeah, so a lot of concept artists are using it. Access kind of software, you can kind of like get in there, play around. A lot of VR software is like that. Like that's kind of the exciting thing about VR for me is like the tools. A lot of the art tools are like super accessible, I think, for like anybody, and they're fun to work with. So I think you're going to see like an explosion in a lot of like 2D artists and people who aren't even artists. But yeah, Oculus Medium is particularly powerful just because of the amount of things voxel based and tools are really tough. Just gonna adjust my mic. I think it's a little bit low. That's better. Yeah, so Oculus Medium. So a lot of concept artists are using it. They'll kind of like just take a screenshot of a sculpt that they did and then do paint overs. It's amazing for setting up the camera and stuff. So we're just having some sound difficulties, I think. Good. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully the sound, the mic, or the music's okay now. Yeah. So concept artists are using it because you can like take screenshots really easy. You can actually control a camera with your hand. You can move the lights around with your hands. Take a screenshot, do a paint over in Photoshop or whatever, and you can have like multiple screenshots of the model in the scene, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a really cool software. So there's updating it all the time, adding new stuff, getting more and more powerful. I've been using it for concepting the characters kind of like clothing and stuff like that in Industries of Titan. Really good for that kind of like abstract kind of shapes and things like that, and kind of sci-fi stuff. It's really good for like kind of like hard surface sci-fi concepting. So today I'm going to use it just to try out some stuff on the ruins on Industries of Titan. So on Industries of Titan, you start off, with like your one building, and then you're surrounded by these like ancient kind of ruins. There's the picture. That's the kind of like what you might expect to see at the beginning of the game. That's from our demo, our most recent demo, and you can see all the ruins there. And I mean, they're just like the surface just covered in them. It's kind of like Coruscant, where they're they're just everywhere, and they go deep into the ground as well. You can see there's like crevices. So it's kind of like the civilization that was there, they built into the into the actual planet surface as well as on top of it. And you get to kind of salvage and destroy and find things in these ruins, and you clear out the ruins to kind of like build your own buildings. And it's kind of like similar to like sensation of like gardening, where you're kind of like weeding out the ruins and you're like planting your new buildings and building your buildings. And it's really satisfying to play in that way, to kind of like get rid of the garbage get things from it and salvage things from it, from the garbage, and then kind of like plant your own buildings. It's a really satisfying feeling to see your like city grow like a garden. Yeah, okay, so so I guess I'll get in VR and show you Oculus Medium. So the actual buildings were made, so the actual ruin buildings were made in 3D Studio Max. But, so they're like low poly, made in 3D Studio Max, and I've brought them into Oculus Medium, which means that they've been converted to voxels. So this isn't like representative of the actual model, it's just kind of like a kind of slightly lower res, kind of simplified version. So hopefully you can all see that. I can actually see the chat in VR as well. See that? So we'll say hello. It's not that I can't see you, or if you're posting messages and stuff, so feel free to ask questions or say hello or whatever. So yeah, so this is actually a kind of like, we have 3 levels of the ruins at the moment. We're gonna have, you know, more advanced ruins and kind of unusual ruins, but we have like kind of 3 basic levels, and then, you know, a variation of every level, like lots of variations of every level. So this is a level 3 one. I thought I'd just start with that because it's kind of a bigger one. So the design is kind of like quite greebly. Teams H Potato, hello there, I can't wait to play this game. Yes, I mean, hopefully you're following the game, seeing our updates and stuff on Twitter, and checking out, I mean, last week, I think it was last week we showed off the game. Andy showed you the demo and stuff, so yeah, the design is quite greebly, and at the bottom there's like kind of rubble and kind of like some earth, kind of dirt, kind of creeping up it and stuff. And as I said, this is kind of like an slightly abstract representation. It's just like a basic version. But yeah, it's amazing to work in VR and to like take your models and then just spin them around and grab them and move them around. And so the general idea of these ruins is that they're quite greebly and abstract, and they have like a bit of mystery to them. There's like an inner core, which I didn't actually import into this model, but as you destroy them and you get to see inside them and kind of like glance as to what's inside them. And we have plans for kind of like all kinds of things that might be inside them. So it's kind of like a nice gift wrap. You know, you salvage them and you get like artifacts or resources or other surprises, and maybe you get like a little visual tease as well of what could be inside and unique stuff that's inside these. And then I've also kind of got on every one this kind of really tall door. So it's kind of like, you know, I want to hint at, you know, this is obviously an entrance. This is a building, people go inside. But I quite like these tall doors, which every single ruin building has, to kind of like just give it a kind of majestic quality. Okay, so we've got layers here, and I've got the actual building model on a layer, so I've got a spare layer there. I did prepare these scenes earlier, so saved some setting up time. So you have various tools. This is the clay tool, which is like your basic tool. So you just add sculpt kind of voxel sculpting model shapes, and you can move it around. It's kind of like a brush, and you choose different shapes. So that's obviously a sphere. Here's a cube. Kind of see how that's working. So I've got fairly high resolution, but you can still see that, you know, around the edges it's a bit jagged. It's not super high, and obviously the higher the resolution, the more computer struggles. So James H Potato says, "Wow, wait, so you create the models in VR?" Yeah, I was saying earlier that this model was not created in VR; it's created in 3D Studio Max. But I do some concepting now in VR, so like, especially for the characters, I've been doing that with the characters, doing their costumes and things like that. Because it's so fast to work, and there's a lot of freedom in VR to work in that way. And then I kind of optimize the models after. I'll kind of either fix them or touch them up and clean and tidy them. And then because of the art style, it's kind of like a faceted low poly look. I'll just like decimate the meshes. So there's quite a fast workflow and stuff. But for these buildings, I wanted something a bit more precise and exact. And I wanted these like kind of greeble designs. You could actually kind of do this design in VR probably. You had a bunch of these kind of like stamp shapes, and just kind of like added lots of like greebly cubes. So yeah, you could definitely do it in VR. I just didn't. The way I've got it set up in 3D Studio Max, it's kind of like in the modifier stack, I've got multiple modifiers going on a basic 3D mesh, so you can kind of like have the basic base shape, and then you can quickly kind of like add all the detail, and your building's done really, really quick. Unfortunately, the UV mapping and stuff takes a while, kind of annoying. But anyway, but yeah, the actual model like takes hardly any time at all. So yeah, so you add these shapes like this, and then you kind of you restrict your brush or your stroke. Obviously, having a free arm, you can go kind of crazy. You can restrict it to like a line. You have like these nice straight lines. Obviously, kind of like wanted to go along this perfectly. Going out of the bounds of my VR space, I think. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you can kind of, you know, be more exact with your movement. You can also restrict it along a plane. So like if I wanted to just be on the surface of this, I can go anywhere I want, but it's just along that plane. Then you've got kind of like a steady stroke as well. So if you just wanted to be quite precise, it's kind of like it slows down your stroke. It's kind of like lazy brush, or I think Photoshop has this now where it's like really slow. Good for like, yeah, curvy shapes that you want to be quite precise with. And then there's like, you can restrict it to the surface as well. So it just clings to the surface of another model. So yeah, lots of cool tools to kind of like constrain and be more precise with what you're doing. And then you have these stamps. So it comes with loads of default stamps, loads of, I mean, I call them kind of brushes. I guess the official name is a stamp, but they're kind of like brushes to me, the way that they work. And yeah, there's just loads of presets, and they're pretty powerful. I mean, like even just the primitives I like to play with. You have like cones and things, like if you wanted to cut into things or have a point at the end or whatever. And those are like all the primitives. Got mechanical shapes, really good for like quick hard surface stuff. I mean, you've got to be careful with these because you obviously don't want to look like you just kit bashed the presets together and it just looks, includes the preset bits. But a lot of people can create their own libraries, you know, bones, cool stuff. Okay, Urag says, can you open image files to use reference in Medium? Yep, you definitely can. You can import your own models and import images. I can actually show you that quick. Just go to here, add image, desktop, got an image, desktop, that ruined. So just add it in. Where's it gone? Ah, there it is. It was just quite small. So yeah, you can like bring in an image, scale it up, have it wherever you want. You could have a bunch of images around, and that's your reference, and you can kind of then model, look up at your reference or whatever, similar to how I have this chat window here. So yeah, it's really cool being able to do that, to be all in VR space and not have to leave it. But you can, you know, obviously go to your desktop and do things on your desktop as well if you wanted to. Yeah, so I mean, I recommend everybody plays with this. Like, even if you're not into art, but you're just curious, it's just super fun, super cool. There's a little bit of a kind of like learning curve, but once you get over that and you kind of you get used to the shortcuts, where the buttons are and what does what, it's really fun. And yeah, you can just play around with these like presets, like, you know, create a dinosaur skull and then kind of like maybe create some kind of body from that, and all kinds of like architectural stuff. And yeah, you can create your own stamps. So I did actually want to create a stamp. So I was playing around just briefly with some of these in the organic section, I think it is. Something I wanted to play with. So, so yeah, like I'm going to just quickly show just how to create your own stamp. So if we create a new scene. Yeah, it is a lot of fun to play with. Do check it out. Right, so yeah, so if you want to create your own stamp, so I did actually want to create one from this like fungal thing. So yeah, these are like some weird organic stuff. There's like flowers and leaves and stuff, but this like fungus was quite cool. It made me think about kind of like, so the purpose of this is I'm just gonna of this stream is I'm gonna mess around with the ruins and see if I can come up. So you can already get mineral resources and other resources from inside the ruins, like what they're actually made of. You can extract and find other things inside them and artifacts and things. But you know, we're probably going to add other resources that you can find, and we're thinking about, like, you know, what if like you could get an organic resource? Maybe there's something growing inside them, and that was something that I was thinking would be fun to explore in VR. And so yeah, so I was looking at these organic stamps and wanted to edit one, kind of use. I'm just going to set it to single, so it's not continuous. So it's just going to create one. What I'm going to do is increase the resolution a bit because it's quite low resolution. So you go to layer. Where is it? Make sure I'm on the layer, actions, increase resolution, maybe like 3 times should be plenty. And I might actually restrict it. You've got these tools to restrict it to angles and also to a grid. So if you want to be really precise and you're doing like maybe hard surface or mechanical things and you need it to be restricted to a grid or an angle, you've got these tools as well, and you can see how it's stepping. So that's like, I do 90 degrees or 75. Let's just do 45 to show, like, you can do 45-degree angles and it'll stay at those angles. And obviously you can see it snapping along a grid as well, a kind of cube. I got the grid quite low, but you can obviously edit the grid. So I'm just gonna put on 90. Okay, I assume this is kind of like, should be, I think I've rotated the room a bit, so it's at a bit of an angle, but that should be correct. Trying to remember which way it creates the stamp. I guess it doesn't really matter, but you want the stamp facing a certain way depending on how you want it orientated when you open the tool. And also you want to set the color, maybe we'll just have it white, or maybe like a green if it's going to be organic. There you go, I don't know, something like that. So what I wanted to do is, I like this shape, but I didn't want the bottom bit. I just like this kind of top spiky bit. So I'm gonna go to just a cube. And you just double click a button to invert it. So now it's a subtract tool. So obviously this is to add. There's my shape being added. And I'm gonna take away. This is like what is called like a Boolean workflow in 3D, where you're like adding and taking away shapes. And this is like how Oculus Medium is so powerful and so quick to work with. So I don't know, let's try like there. I just wanted the top bit. So then I think, I haven't done this for a little while, but you just go Actions, Stamp. Create a custom colored stamp from the selected layer. Yes, we want to do that. Create stamp. I think that's done that. So now if we go to the library, like custom, yeah, there it is. So now I've got this as a stamp. So I can just like add them as much as I want, you know? And that's now always in the library. And you know, obviously I just edited a preset, but you could create completely your own, you know, you could have like a head, or you could even have a building, and you could create a city really quickly. I mean, it's the only way it's limited to is in terms of the resolution, so you couldn't have a super detailed city with these. They would probably be a bit blurry, but that's why concept art is using it, right? Because it's not like a finished asset, it's to kind of indicate what's there, and then you paint over the top or whatever. So yes, let's go back to our ruins building. I showed you a level 3, let's maybe go to a level 2. This is a slightly smaller building, the one I was showing earlier. See the door there, usual. Okay, so make sure we're going a layer that has a decent amount of resolution. I assume this does. Check. That's quite low res. Okay, yeah. Increase the resolution. Kind of weird streaming and doing this at the same time because it's so intuitive, like using the tools and the UI, and then when you have to kind of think about something else slightly, you kind of get lost a little bit. Okay, so yeah, I need to make sure I'm on the layer. There we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm usually doing it 3 times from the default. Creates like a nice, good resolution. Okay, let's just make this a bit bigger. And then we've got these lights, which is really fun to adjust. Where are the lights? Oh yeah, there's one over there. So fun to grab the lights and just move them around, play with them, set up different lighting situations, really easy and really quick. The other one up there. Like a kind of a low sun, long shadow type of lighting, what you might see in the game. So yeah, those are just fun to play with. Okay, let's take off the restrictions. Let's make sure we're on the right layer. Take off the angle snap, etc. Yeah, so I was thinking like maybe like a fungus. Like, feel free to like shout ideas. Like, it doesn't have to be organic. Like, if you have any ideas of what you might see on the ruin to indicate that there's something inside, like some kind of growth. We're playing with the idea of like crystals. Maybe you might see something in the gaps here, kind of glowing. So those are like fun things to play with. But I was going to start with just like a kind of weird organic fungal thing. So yeah, actually one cool thing to do is to maybe like, you want something that's going to be roughly the same shape. Like, I want to cover this ruin with something. So I'm going to actually duplicate that layer. And now there's like another building underneath this one. And I'm going to just kind of like smooth it. Color it something slightly different and just see how that looks. Green color. So yeah, so that was the clay tool. I'm going to quickly go to paint, to the paint tool. So I'm adding color. A bit brighter than that. See the model underneath there now. Poking through. A bit brighter. Gotta remember that these are small buildings, you know, in the game world, your top-down camera kind of need to be a bit bolder than you'd expect. Also with the lighting and the kind of post-processing, things are kind of dulled down in terms of color a bit. But yeah, so like, good way to kind of like start big and kind of rough is to use like this kind of like move tool, which is loads of fun to play with. So it's just a big sphere, and you can just grab a section and move it around. I don't actually want to move everything. I want to be on the layer I'm on. So yeah, you see how I can just pull out what's that model, and you can see it kind of like stretching, and it recalculates as the voxels kind of like recalculate themselves, and then it kind of creates that shape. But this is super fun to play around with. You can just kind of get all wacky and crazy and do weird shapes. Again, good for like concept artists to do weird stuff for designs, for creature designs, or like rain or whatever. So yeah, I was thinking maybe like growth, so tentacly looking, plant-y looking things. So maybe just like, let's the inner radius a bit smaller so it's more pointy. Like a curvy, maybe. You gotta remember, this is like a small asset in the game. You're looking top down. Kind of always have to think about that. Like, the top part of the building is the most important. That's what people kind of like read first. They're kind of like looking like thorns, but kind of aggressive, I guess. So yeah, so you can obviously see something's growing out of this. Kind of cool. Maybe more like a branch, branching off. Yeah. Kind of creepy in a way, I don't know. Like fungal, weird growth stuff. Kind of weird. Right. Mr. Weeb, who's called Marlin, says, do you sculpt your characters in VR first as well? No, for the like faces, I still do in ZBrush because I'm just a lot better in ZBrush than I am in Oculus Medium. Like in Medium, it's good for like rougher things, whereas ZBrush, I need to be really precise with the faces and stuff. So I do those in ZBrush, and then I'll take the kind of the base heads or faces into VR, and then do some of the costumes and clothing in VR. Yeah, I don't know, this is kind of like looking a bit like Thorns. Maybe do something else. Kind of interesting, but I don't want it to look like Thorns. I want it to look like a kind of fungus or something. Which is why I made that stamp earlier. I'm going to use that later, but yeah, you can do this. So there's multiple tools here. Like clay and paint are the main ones, and like move I'll use a lot. This inflate one can be cool for trying stuff. It's just going to expand mesh. Am I doing it? Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted. Ooh. Yeah, it's a bit more weird, a bit more. Not so aggressive. The spikiness. I don't know. Kind of looks a bit silly now. Kind of reminds me a bit of like old 70s sci-fi stuff you'd see. Like, you know, like book covers. I always remember those like 1970s book covers. I was having like weird fungal alien stuff. Urag says, kind of funny how the tools look. They are sci-fi sculpting tools. Yeah, it feels, I mean, that's part of the experience. Is like not only are the tools cool to play with, but you feel you're working on sci-fi stuff in what feels like a sci-fi environment. So it's really immersive in that way. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this, but we're just experimenting. Kind of like, oh, I mean, you could just like expand over the top, maybe. No, it's not gonna. I mean, maybe in areas it could be really taken over. Yeah, I mean, you'd notice that, right? You'd be like, ooh, what's in there? What's that stuff? Yeah, I don't know. This probably isn't working, but let's just continue for a bit longer. So if we're gonna make it like 1970s sci-fi, you gotta have like pink and green and gross colors, right? That a little bit too over the top. So yeah, this is the paint tool again. I'm just kind of spray painting colors. Interesting. Greg says, yes, it really fits this project. Yeah, I feel like working in VR, like even the characters, I'm like putting lots of VR headsets on them or like VR style stuff. I mean, I think like VR goggles just look cool anyway, but I kind of like the idea of designing VR influenced clothing in VR. It's all about the VR. Yeah, I'm a big fan of like tools in VR. I mean, everybody who has a VR setup should give like the art tools a go. There's also Quill, which is more like kind of like 2D looking. You still kind of work in 3D, and it's kind of like sculpting, but it's more like a hybrid of painting and sculpting, where you have to like paint in the lighting and stuff. So Quill is really good, and it can also do animation. But yeah, that's more for like cartoony, kind of like 2D looking style things. But people are making like amazing stuff in Quill, and that's something I'm going to try out soon. Yeah, and there's other like animation tools as well. You can rig characters and do all kinds of stuff, and it's a fun way to work. I mean, you can't work for a long time. Like I usually, my eyes get a bit funny after like 3 hours, and then I'll need like, you know, a 30-minute break or something, and I can get back to it. So you could theoretically do a whole day's work in VR, but you just don't want to do it continuously. You're going to need a bit of a break. Yeah, Yes, what was I going to do? Okay, so you can actually change the material settings. They've got like basic material settings. So this is all just like a default, slightly shiny, glossy kind of surface. But you can have like metallic materials. So that's immediately just going like a metal. You can make it more rough, not quite so shiny, or you could have it super shiny. That's super shiny. The metal goes dark when it gets shiny, polished. Hi, the Sabby Life. Hello. So yeah, metal isn't really gonna, if it's organic, it shouldn't really be metal, but maybe like a little bit glossy, kind of over the top. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when it's small, kind of catch your eye a bit better. But it also kind of just looks like plastic. That's the problem. You can, of course, make it shiny. I mean, emissive, glowy, shiny. Oh, why am I? Go. So that's cool for like lights, things like that. Obviously, I'm not doing that at the moment, so. Yeah, I don't know about that. So we can just hide that layer, create a new layer, or maybe let's clone this again. Duplicate. There we go. I'm gonna delete that layer we don't want that. And just work on this one. Maybe we'll try something different. Let's go. Maybe brown. Well, let's stay green because the ground is brown, so I want to stand out more from the ground. Brighter. Yeah. So again, so I've just duplicated the building. So we've got two buildings, and then one I'm painting a different color. Now what to do? So, I mean, this is really just the concepting phase of playing around. So let's use that stamp that we made earlier. Oh, greeny color. It should be green. Why is it not black? Well, we can paint it after. I have no idea why it's not taking up the color I'm wanting it to have. And we need to go higher resolution as well, so let's just increase resolution another time. Just have to be careful when it's starting to think. When it does that little logo, then you know that your computer is going to be challenged a little bit maybe with what you're doing, but this computer's pretty good, so it should be okay. Solai says, do your arms get tired after working for an hour or two? No, because you're not really doing like, oh. Yeah, I mean, you're not really like lifting anything. You're just kind of like floating around. You kind of get into what you're doing. So, but yeah, I've never had any problems with arms. My legs sometimes get a bit tired if I'm standing. I mean, I like to do this standing because I just like to like do art and creative stuff while standing. It feels more active. You're kind of getting more into what you're doing. But some people will sit, and you can sit, but I guess you can't. It's harder to get around your model and move around it, and if you want to move around it and stuff like that. So I prefer to stand, but you could sit. Urag says it's probably still easier than real clay because you're just moving around and not putting strength into it. Yeah, I mean, with real clay, your fingers get tired. I mean, I don't do much real clay stuff anymore, like I did in college and stuff, and I occasionally do it, but yeah, your fingers, if you're not used to it, your fingers get tired really quick. But it's the same with anything. The more you do it, the stronger you get with what you're doing. So the same with VR. You know, if you're doing this a lot, your arms definitely would get working this way. So let's just dot a bunch of these around. They could come out a bit. Kind of like a weird fungal growth. Again, make sure you're looking top down, checking what it looks like from high up because that's where the game camera is. Smaller ones. Kind of gross. You got an eyedropper tool. You want a specific color that's already on the model, so I can just paint that the same green. Yeah, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Definitely looks like fungus. Dabby says, I sit when I do tilt brush, especially when streaming for 5 hours. Yeah, if you're doing 5 hours, definitely want to sit for that. I mean, I see people like doing things like Beat Saber with like weights tied, or you know, like the weight straps or whatever tied around their arms and legs. So it could be a really good way to get exercise. I want to try that at some point as well, because Beat Saber is a lot of fun, and might as well get some exercise when you're doing it. Yeah. So what am I doing? Okay. In the paint tool, I need to go to clay. I'm gonna add some different shapes. Let's go back to like the organic preset, organic stuff. There you go, fungus ball. Good. We got the right color. Yeah. Maybe that could be in the corners. Kind of gross. Like a mold or something. So in case you don't know, Titan is Saturn's moon. And it's got like methane lakes and stuff, and it could theoretically like support life, though the air might not be very good. But yeah, you'd think there could be some kind of life on there, right? Especially like way in the future. I mean, I did do one stream in VR, and sorry, in ZBrush, exploring maybe a little bug creature thing, which kind of like went predictably. It just looked like a kind of spider crab hybrid thing. You know, maybe some more unusual shapes. Check out some of the other ones. Ooh, these would have been good actually for earlier when I was doing the weird thorn things. Yeah, I'm not too big a fan of the thorn things I did earlier. They weren't really. That's cool, isn't it? Spiral-y. I mean, it's so fun and easy just to work with these like preset shapes. But I do try, when I'm doing the characters, I do try and stick to just like a cube or a circle, sphere, or cube, and just, you can do a lot with just that. Rocks, maybe? Shapes in there. Oh, there you go. Is that like a volcanic looking rock? Kind of looks like a fungus. Oh yeah, pretty cool. Be like a big one of those. Ooh. Yeah, I love how you can just grab your models and move them around, scale them. Yeah, maybe just like, where is this all coming from? It's obviously coming from the main building, so maybe it should be in there. Something like that. You can also, don't be afraid to just grab stuff, move it around. I think that's just kind of looking cool just by the default stamp color. So if you're being precise, you want your model quite big. Or like a dark. Yeah, if anybody has any ideas of something to try, let me know, because at the moment I'm just on the fungal life train, but probably something like crystals. That might be cool. But let me know if you think of something else. bit darker at the bottom. So yeah, so it's good. I like to, with a lot of game assets, especially if you're looking down at them, good to kind of make them have like a dark base. It gives them depth. It clearly shows the depth, like a gradient, a bit darker at the bottom. A cutout, so Solai says, a cutout from the side of one building where a monster took a bite. Haha. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool and quite easy to do. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of like a mystery, like, oh, this building's been destroyed, but what did it? You know, because all the other buildings look kind of a little bit destroyed, but if there was one building that was destroyed in a special looking way, adds a nice sense of mystery to that. Okay, let's change the material so it looks kind of different surface. Could go metallic. What does that look like? Oh. Kind of weird, like a metallic growth. You know, the default doesn't look too bad. You wouldn't expect this stuff to be shiny. If it's kind of, I don't know, like a rough planet surface, there's lots of dust and stuff, you wouldn't really get shiny stuff. Okay, it's interesting. I mean, I could try what Solai suggested, maybe like a weird damaged building that's down, like, you know, done in a weird way. So let's hide that layer. Let's duplicate this one again. Ground. So always got to increase that resolution. Got to remember to do that. 1, at least 2, maybe 3. Oh no, I was thinking. That means I should stop. Marlon says, yeah, could have a big creature remains or something. Yeah, like a skeleton. Big bones. So, oh yeah, we're gonna hide. Well, I'll tell you what we should do is duplicate both and hide the original. Oh, okay, right. So we're ready to work. So this is just a brand new building, copied. But yeah, if it was damaged in a weird way, oh, we could just have these kind of shapes taken away from it. If it was a bite, it would be like teeth marks, wouldn't it? How would that look? I don't know. There you go. Somebody chomped on that. Arr. See what kind of shapes we have, because you never know, might. You got the bones. You could actually just get some teeth. Although it doesn't look like it, does it? That's the thing. That's a human skull, in case you can't quite see it. I was just putting teeth up to it, but that's not going to work. Yeah, so bones. Actually, like human anatomy, so heads and stuff. If you wanted to start from like a base mesh, could have a hand growing out of a building. That wouldn't look weird at all, would it? Mechanical. Thinking of shapes, it looked kind of interesting. I think the rock one was probably closest to being interesting. Organic. And this fungus one, maybe reversed, would be interesting. Ooh, that's kind of cool. It's like an erosion. So yeah, I mean, if I was going to edit these models in this way, then I'd probably, you know, decimate it, convert it to like low poly, tidy it up a bit, and then kind of good to go. But if you're doing a kind of different workflow, you could bake this into like a normal map and then have that on like a low poly model, and then you'd kind of retain this kind of detail and this kind of fidelity for that model. But we're kind of like, we're not using normal maps, we're kind of like going more like low poly styled look and complement the voxels, like low poly voxel look. Yeah, I mean, that's a good way of creating just really quick damage to the buildings. I'm not totally up on that shape. Let's go back to the rocks. Where were they? Yeah. Cool. Our building's a bit small. Let's get bigger. Oh, cool. I wonder if we could make it look like it's being damaged from the inside out. Look, tiny building. Like caving in on itself, that'd be kind of cool. I see inside a little bit. Into the core. So as I said, like these do have cores. But I didn't import them to medium. Oh, that's kind of cool, actually. I kind of like that. Maybe you could have like holes and then a growth inside the holes. Really show that it's coming from inside. And it's kind of breaking out. Yeah, so then you can kind of like create a new layer, increase the resolution, 2, 3, and maybe we can go back to our fungusy stuff or cubic. I mean, I do quite like the rocks. Maybe like, we could do like a crystal. Looks like a crystal. I mean, maybe the primitive shapes. I mean, obviously we could create our own stamp again, but I don't think I'm gonna bother with that. Wait, what I'm looking for? Maybe a rock, like blue. Bluey and shiny. So we could settings, I mean metallic maybe? Make it quite shiny. That looks like, oh. Dark. Kind of interesting. There you go, so it's like breaking out from the inside. If we have them small, do lots of them, it looks more like a crystal, doesn't it? Oh yeah, I like that, it's like tree branches. Super cool. I mean, crystals as a material are a bit kind of overused in games. A resource you can get, but they look kind of a bit different. Not your typical crystal. That'd be more interesting. like crystal that grows really fast. Some kind of an invasive species taking over. Starting to like take over buildings next to it. You don't get rid of this ruin, and it's near your buildings. Take them over. Getting quite big, just want to check, see how it looks when it's small. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Gonna go to the paint tool, add a bit of the highlight, the ends. It's kind of hard to see when it's metal and so shiny. Hard to see the colors. Green. Nah. Oh, what we could do is, one thing I like to do that's kind of fun is to duplicate something and then make it emissive. So make that layer material emissive and glowy. Make sure in world settings that bloom is on. Yeah, it's on. Kind of glow a bit. Go to the move tool. Ooh. Maybe just here and there, it's kind of like, we need to be a bit more subtle. Smooth it. Whoa. Okay. Just because I'm smoothing it, just relaxing into the kind of corners and crevices. Bit bright. Okay, paint it a different color. Not working. Go. Got to be careful with glowy stuff though, because it's like kind of quickly makes things look a bit silly. Makes sense for lights and machines, things like that, but you have it in the natural environment, it's kind of can look silly. I don't know. I mean, it catch your eye more, but I think it just doesn't look natural. Maybe shiny rather than emissive. Yeah, it's a bit more interesting then. Use the inflate tool and just have it sticking out a bit. It's almost like a crystal with that's growing, and then there's a growth on the crystal. Pretty subtle, makes it a bit more interesting. It's like black. Yeah, it looks a bit more sinister now. Like, it's the horrible crystal growth and it's near my city. Destroy it, get rid of it. And sell it. Money from it as well. Takes a long time though, it's hard to do. Okay. Kinda cool. Is it better than the fungus though? I don't know. So Marlon was suggesting maybe some bones or like a remnant of a creature. Says, oh, that's interesting. It's a growth rather than something to mine. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a resource. It could just be something that's annoying you and you have to get rid of because it's dangerous or something. But yeah, I kind of like that. You know, we want like a variety of things in the game that you have to either salvage or remove or deal with, and yeah, something dangerous growing. Good one. I mean, we also have like things like sinkholes and cracks, so you could have something growing out of those. Don't have to be in the ruins. What else could we do? I mean, we could go kind of crazy and like almost totally destroy a ruin. Let's bring back the base. I'm just going to clone it again. So obviously I'm in the same scene for all of these, so I'm just experimenting. And then each experiment is like on a layer, so it's easy to just go back and check what you've done. Layering system is a bit of a pain to navigate. I mean, there's no getting around that. It's in VR, so you've just got this like UI sort of thing to deal with. I kind of wish they could, and you can make it closer to you and move it around and everything, but I kind of wish that you could like extend it down or something, or just have a bit more flexibility with that UI window. But yeah, they're still updating Medium, still improving it. I think they're doing an update soon, where you can, with the move tool, you can have different shapes. So you can have like a square, grab a square shape and kind of move that around and stuff. But yeah, they're still like adding loads of new features and stuff. But for me, it's a really fun bit of VR software. I mean, this software alone, for me, validates having like a VR setup, because you know, for my job and my creativity and stuff, it's amazing. So yeah, I was thinking totally just going crazy and destroying this. Kind of rock shapes could do it. So it's barely recognizable as a ruin. That's like a proper ancient ruin then, isn't it? And that's the sort of stuff you see in Europe. I've been to many of those in the UK. Right. I just love how quick it is to do this now, easy. Because like even in ZBrush, this would like, not easy to do this. It takes a bit of time. But because of this Boolean stamping system, it's just so quick. They're great for destruction, damaged things. Especially if you're like a concept artist, it's so quick to do, and then you can just paint over the top, set up your lighting. Okay, so if we totally destroy it, what are we gonna add? So we've done fungal growth, so we've done kind of like a crystal growth. Maybe we could just have a weird like structural chip thing. Maybe it looked like it kind of like crash landed into it. That's why it's damaged. Or just like a giant bit of debris, or like space junk. It just like fell down. Although if it was space junk, it would, like falling that far, it would totally create like a crater, wouldn't it? It could just be something that fell over, some kind of metal structure, and it doesn't have to be the same era. It could be like, you know, 100 years ago, rather than thousands or something. But yeah, we're still kind of like working out the lore of what's going on with these ruins and stuff. We're in the process of that now, so it's fun to kind of just guess how old things are, what's going on with them, what could happen. Okay, so I'm gonna just go to standard cube, and I'm gonna start restricting the movement to like maybe just a line, and maybe angles. 30-degree angles. Oh, we should probably do this on a new layer. I'm gonna just do it right on top of the ruins. So let's create a new layer. There we go, new layer, increase resolution. There we go. Okay, how are we doing for time? Okay, we've done nearly an hour, so I'm gonna do just this last one, I think, and then we'll call it a day, because don't want to spend too long in VR, and I'll probably run out of ideas soon anyway. Yeah, let's start kind of dark. Yeah, some kind of like base junk, bit of maybe like scaffolding or like something that's not clear what it is. I should really kind of like build it, make it, then turn it over on top of the building and then do the damage. And I can clearly see how that would have worked. So I'm probably doing this the wrong way around, but see how this goes anyway. Yeah, so this kind of like line restriction is great for like these kind of like just anything that's built out of lots of well, line sections, I guess. Liney kind of scaffolding or grids, whatever. I guess we want to stay to this angle. And do some connections in between. I mean, look how fast you can do this. So like in any other 3D software, I can't imagine being as quick as this. Do something like this. Drawing out these lines. I mean, you can kind of do similar things in 3D Coat, because that's voxel modeling as well. But you can't, you know, you got to like use your mouse or your Wacom pen to kind of like move around and extend things and push things around, and that's slower than just lifting up your hand. And I mean, it's more precise, I guess, with a Wacom pen and a mouse. But if you're just concepting, you don't need to be precise. Base junk. All right, maybe. So this has got to be metallic, right? So let's. Not too shiny, rough, metallic. Yeah, I don't want to go too rough. I mean, too shiny, because as I was saying earlier, it's probably there's dust and dirt around, and it's been there a while. Then. I mean, I guess you'd expect to see the space junk itself kind of damaged. Like, go back to this bit, color back. You kind of, I guess we could do like a kind of bent section. If we take the line off, put on like a smooth, steady stroke. We go straight and then bend. Yeah, something like that. Maybe. Kind of weird. Ideally, I'd like it to follow like the orientation of when I turn it, but I don't think there's a setting to be able to do that. way. It's kind of working. So like, Solai says, can we get a Zeppelin hovering above? Yeah, crashed onto it. Yeah, I like the idea of like, you know, clearly mixing different eras of technology. Definitely adds a sense of mystery. So I wonder if we could just, yeah, just duplicate that layer. We have 2 of them. Oh, can I just grab that layer? Maybe in the manipulate tool. The manipulate tool is your standard kind of transform tools if you want to be really precise with moving stuff around and rotate with a like gizmo and move with a gizmo. There's also just a grab tool. Good. I thought I could just grab that layer, but yeah, I wonder why. I'm sure there's a setting that lets me just move and grab the current layer, but I'm not too sure where that is. So we could actually just use the move tool, but make it really big. Yeah, it kind of works. Oh, it's even going a bit bendy. So I've got super big, make the middle bigger, so now I can just grab the whole thing. Kind of. Look at this, a few of these, done a bit more damaged. Yeah, something like that. Duplicate again, maybe. One's kind of come across it or something. Oh yeah, I forgot you can actually grab stuff and then use the joystick to scale it up while you're moving it around. That's really cool. Oh, I had to think about that. Okay. Now, kind of working, not really. I mean, if I should really be more precise with the space junk, and as I said, like, made that, then turned it onto the building, and then, like, destroyed the building. But yeah, you kind of get the idea where I was going with that. I like the word space junk. It's cool to be able to use that. Okay, yeah, I think I'll stop it there. We've done... I don't even know if that's the correct time. That's desktop. That's your time there anyway. I assume we've done like well over an hour though. But yeah, that's Oculus Medium. That's some of the process. So I haven't really done much environment work with it, but I'm definitely going to be doing more environment work, and I'll continue to do character stuff with it. So yeah, if you want to see like more of my work, follow me on Twitter @Gunn3D. I'll definitely be posting more VR stuff, and I do a lot of stuff in ZBrush as well. So the sculpting stuff is what I love to do the most. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. This is actually going to be my last stream for the foreseeable future. I might continue again at some point in the future, but just due to like having an appointment that I have to do on a Friday, and combined with my long commute into work, it's kind of like taking a bit too much time to do this stream. So enjoy it, and it's fun, and I like showing off bits of the game and ideas of the game and stuff. So hopefully I can continue that again in the future. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and I think the next stream, don't have it up in front of me, but maybe Marlon can post who's next. But yeah, that's next week obviously, so come back for that, and yeah, thank you for watching.